This chapter dives into the life of Daenerys Targaryen, a 13-year-old girl living in exile in the free city of Pentos with her older brother Viserys. The story is told from Dany's perspective, showing us how little control she has over her own life and how her brother is preparing to marry her off to Khal Drogo, a powerful Dothraki warlord, in exchange for an army to reclaim the Iron Throne. Viserys held up a dress, all excited like it was some priceless treasure. "This is beauty," he told her, practically drooling over the fabric. Dany reached out to feel it. It was so soft it slipped through her fingers like water. She'd never touched anything that fine. It actually scared her a little. She pulled her hand back and asked, "Is it really mine?" Viserys was riding a high that night. "A gift from Magister Illyrio," he said with a smile. "The color will make your eyes pop, and you'll get gold and jewels too," Illyrio promised. "Tonight you need to look like a princess." Dany thought about that word, princess. It felt foreign. Maybe she never truly knew what it meant. She asked the obvious. Why is Illyrio giving us all this? What does he want? For 6 months now, they'd been living in his mansion, eating his food, getting pampered like royalty. But Dany wasn't stupid. In Pentos, gifts like these always came with strings attached. Viserys, thin and twitchy, brushed her off. "Illyrio knows I'll remember my friends when I sit on the throne." Dany didn't argue. Illyrio dealt in everything from spices to dragonbone, and maybe even worse. The streets said he'd sell out anyone for the right price, but Viserys was all dreams and delusion. Questioning him meant risking his fury. He called it waking the dragon. He hung the dress and told her slaves would be coming to clean her up. "Make sure the stink of the stables is gone. Drogo's got 1,000 horses. Tonight he's looking for a new mount." Then he started nitpicking her posture, pushed her shoulders back, touched her breasts, too lightly to ignore, but not quite gentle either. He twisted her nipple and threatened her quietly. "Don't wake the dragon. Do you understand?" She meekly answered, "No." He smiled. "Good." And just like that, he was off dreaming about his reign, as if it was already written in history. When he left, Dany went to the window. Outside, the sun was setting behind Pentos. She could hear kids laughing in the distance and the priests singing. For a moment, she wished she was out there with those kids, barefoot, messy, nameless. No feasts, no brothers, no expectations. Her thoughts drifted across the sea to Westeros. Green hills, rivers, massive mountains, and knights riding under noble banners. People called it Westeros, the Sunset Kingdoms. Viserys just called it our land. He repeated it like a prayer. Ours by blood, stolen from us by traitors. But Dany had never even seen it. To her, places like Dragonstone or Casterly Rock were just names. She was still in the womb when they fled King's Landing. Still, she knew the stories by heart. Her brother Rhaegar dying on the Trident for a woman, the Lannisters storming the capital, Princess Aelia's child torn from her arms and murdered, her father's throat slit by the Kingslayer. And then she was born on Dragonstone during a storm so wild it destroyed their fleet. Their mum died giving birth, and Viserys never forgave her for that. Later, they almost got sold out. But Sir Willem Darry and a few loyal men grabbed the two of them and escaped across the sea. Dany barely remembered Sir Willem, just that he was old and kind and smelled like sickness. He called her Little Princess. When he died, the servants stole what was left, and they were kicked out of the big house with the red door, the only place Dany had ever loved. Since then, it was just wandering. Braavos to Myr, Tyrosh to Lys. No place stayed theirs for long. Viserys insisted they were always being hunted. At first, nobles welcomed the last Targaryens. But as the usurper stayed in power, their welcome ran out. Eventually, even her mother's crown was sold. The streets of Pentos called her brother the Beggar King. Dany didn't want to know what they called her. But Viserys kept promising, "We'll get it all back. Dragonstone, King's Landing, the Iron Throne." She didn't care about thrones. She just wanted that red door again, a room of her own, a lemon tree. Soon, the slaves arrived, silent, quick and precise. One girl wouldn't stop talking, bragging about how rich Drogo was. His slaves wore gold collars, his palace had 200 rooms, blah, blah, blah. Dany said nothing. She had always believed she'd marry Viserys. That was the Targaryen way. But now, her brother was selling her off to some stranger. Once she was bathed and perfumed. The slaves dressed her in a plum gown and loaded her with gold. Tiara, bracelets, even a heavy collar with Valyrian glyphs. "Now you look like a princess," the chatty girl said. Dany stared at her reflection. She looked royal, sure, but she also remembered what that girl said. Even Drogo's slaves wore gold. A shiver ran down her spine. Viserys checked her over like a piece of meat. Illyrio arrived, glowing with perfume and fake charm, calling her a vision. He promised Drogo would be impressed. Viserys, of course, had to ruin the moment. "She's too skinny. Are you sure Drogo likes him that young?" Illyrio reassured him again and again. "She's of age. She has royal blood. Drogo will be pleased." Dany was shaking inside, but nobody cared. They left in Illyrio's fancy palanquin, carried through the dark streets. Dany sat quietly, while Viserys rambled about how 10,000 Dothraki would be enough to reclaim his throne. "The people want me back," he said, staring into nothing. Illyrio played along, feeding his fantasy. Dany didn't buy any of it. She saw her brother's hand tighten on his sword when they reached Drogo's house. The Dothraki guards didn't bow or smile. Inside, the air was thick with spices, and the walls glittered with lanterns. A eunuch announced them like royalty. "Viserys of House Targaryen, Daenerys Stormborn." The place was packed with strangers, Dothraki warriors, bravos, sellswords, red priests, foreign lords. And Dany noticed something chilling. She was the only woman there. Illyrio pointed out the important people, Drogo's bloodriders, nobles, and one knight, Ser Jorah Mormont. Dany was surprised. "A knight?" she asked. Illyrio explained how he was exiled from Westeros for selling poachers to slavers. Now he served to Targaryens. Then Illyrio whispered, "There's the cow." Dany turned and froze. Khal Drogo was massive, taller than anyone, but moved like a cat. Young, no more than 30, skin like copper, and a braid that reached below his butt. No Dothraki cut their braid unless they lost a fight. His was untouched. He'd never been beaten. Viserys grabbed her arm. "He's never lost. He's like Aegon the Conqueror, and you're going to be his queen." Dany felt sick. "I don't want to be his queen," she whispered. "I want to go home." Viserys snapped. "They took her home!" He dragged her into the shadows, fingers digging into her skin. Dany meant their little room in Illyrio's estate, but Viserys meant Westeros. He wasn't hearing her. "We go home with Drogo's army," he said. "And if you have to sleep with him to make it happen, you will. I'd let all 40,000 of his men fuck you, if that's what it took." He told her to smile. Illyrio was bringing Drogo over. Dany wiped her tears and forced a smile. Viserys whispered again, "Stand straight. Show him you have breasts." And just like that, Daenerys stood up straight, dressed in gold, painted in perfume, shaking inside, waiting to be handed over like a prize. So that was Chapter 3 of A Game of Thrones.
If you enjoyed that, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you never miss the next chapter. And if you haven't watched the earlier chapters, click here to check them out.